This is the Working Writer Podcast, episode 43. Hey, welcome to the Working Writer Podcast. This is the podcast created for you, the writer who works to pay your bills, but writes because it's what you have to do to keep from going insane, like me. You picked the right week to listen, though, because we're starting a new chapter. No, not only do we have Freddie, the podcast dog, as always, and Moxie, the editing cat, we now have my old friend, producer Dave, with us. Say hi.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited I've been listening to the program for a little bit, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
See, I love it when he lies to me. That's good. But, you know, the good thing is, no longer do you just have to sit and listen to my voice drone on nonstop and uninteresting. Dave here is here to give us a calming presence and, shall we say, guiding hand throughout this journey, because we actually go back to the Army days before HD video. That's right. Before we were doing HD video.
Mini DV tape.
Yeah. We were running around making short films and TV pilots in Indiana. You know, whether he admits to being from Indiana or not, he is. And now he is a top-notch podcast producer and video shooter, and I couldn't be happier to have him on board.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
As a matter of fact, one of those projects, a couple of those projects we'll be talking about today, because we have an amazing subject today. We're going to talk about a subject that Dave and I have talked about amongst ourselves, between ourselves, many times. But should writers direct their own work or even act in the stuff that they write? Okay, so let's get started.
All right, that's a fun topic. I've always been one. There's kind of, I look at it. There's two ways you can look at that, and one of the ways is kind of like, do you look at the project you're doing as a collaboration, or do you look at it as your personal work? And sometimes if you have your personal work, then you want to make sure your personal stamp's on it. And then you want, as a writer, you want to direct it. You want to edit it. You want to have every little creative control there. But my thing is, does that get in the way of telling a good story?
Do you get in your own way? I guess.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Is kind of the way to look at that for me, because there are also three different levels that I have to look at. We have low budget, or whatever we're calling low budget now. I guess there are other words for it. Micro budget,
no budget,
no money, no money shooting. Of course, high budget and medium budget stuff, which can be a completely different animal altogether. And then for me in the theater world as well, because that's a different animal unto itself. But let's start off with stuff that you and I have done together, and we've worked on many times, which is the no to low budget stuff. Most of the time, no budget, as it turns out. When you and I first got together, we were making short films, and we made a TV pilot together, which were literally no budget causes, if you will. I mean, the TV pilot, we got Kickstarter, either a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter, I can't remember which, for that one, and got that going.
Wow, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually made the trailer for it and everything. Luckily,
I remember the trailer, because we used the old subway set. And
yeah.
It's kind of almost like a PSA of like, like a sad type thing about writing. It was really fun. It was funny. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's still on YouTube today. As a matter of fact, the show's on YouTube now. If anybody wants to go find it, it's called X-Kid. We're talking about it because I wrote that, and originally I wasn't going to be in it. We were looking for people to be in it, but I ended up having to be in it because we really had nobody else, and that was a scary, scary thing. It was it's the same thing with your short films that I've been in for you. You wrote those, you shot them, edited, directed those, everything. Was that more because you wanted your vision to be what actually came out in the end, or was it just out of necessity?
It was a lot of necessity, but also if I write something, I want to shoot it. And if I'm going to shoot it, I might as well direct it, because I have a certain visual style that I'm pretty good at, and I haven't met a lot of people that can really do what I do as far as shooting. Not to toot my own horn or anything like that, but I was like, I know it visually how I want it, and sometimes it's easier for me to do it than convey that to somebody else.
When you're writing, do you already have that visual in your head when you're writing, or do you write and then that visual comes to you?
Most stories for me start with a visual, and then I work backwards. Like I'll see something that interests me, and I'll build a story off of it.
And before you started writing, before you really started shooting and editing your own stuff, what were you watching that gave you that visual cue? What were the things that were hitting you to get to that?
Really anything that was interesting as far as cinematography. I remember one of the first ones that got me, and it's so long ago now. We're talking like well over 40 years. Is the first Halloween film and the opening shot, and also the story of Rocky, when Rocky is running, and if you find out like the inventor of the Steadicam actually like pitched them, hey, try this, and they couldn't afford dolly track, and it was very low budget, and so they did that shot out of all those shots, those Steadicam shots, out of necessity. And I always kind of gravitated towards if I don't have the tools, but still want to do something interesting, I think that makes me more creative. And when I got to see that and see the stories behind them, that to me is what kind of made me interested in the idea of that. And when I listened to, I'd read books or listen to articles or read articles about, before podcasts of cinematographers talking about shots having meaning, and you don't just do a shot just because you think it's cool. Like there has to be a reason behind it, and it has to help with the story. And once I started realizing that and understanding that, that's when the visual storytelling to me became probably the forefront of how I do things. Is it's visual storytelling first, and then the words kind of complement that, to where I would probably be more comfortable making a silent film than I would with a dialogue heavy film.
How dare you take the voice out of film? I don't understand you. Do you think you'd have as easy a time writing knowing that somebody else was going to direct?
I would have to be someone I work with, and I would have to know their style. I mean, it'd be interesting. That'd be sure. It depends on what other role I took on. If I was just writing and then handing it off, and then that was it, that was the end of my day, I think that might be a little challenging. But also I would. It's weird because I'd like to see the outcome, but I'd also want to be able to change it if I didn't like it.
So you want Final Cut? Is what you're saying.
Yeah. I want Final Cut, but I also want opinions.
Yeah.
Like I want someone to sit there and I would rather someone look at something I do and tear it apart rather than oh man, that's great. That's great. I think sometimes we work with people that are our friends, and we like to, and we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and we try to just, oh no, this is good. This is amazing. But really, you need someone to sit there and be like, what are you doing? Like what is this? Like, do you really think that was going to work? I was like, well, at the time.
I'm an egotistical writer-actor. I need somebody just to go, hey, that looks great. And then tell somebody like you to edit it instead of me.
I use something I like to call the compliment sandwich. And this is how I try to get my opinion towards people that don't really want to hear my opinion. Is I'll start out and I'll just be like, you know what? I was reading it. I loved it. Like I loved it, the pacing, everything about it. I loved the character. And then I'll be like, and then on like towards the middle, that one character, if there'll be somebody that I'm like, this is stupid. I don't like this. I don't like this character at all. I'll be like, this character, I found it really interesting because the way it changed the tone. And I was kind of curious what your thought process was there. And I'm like, because it took me for a total loop, and I was thinking one thing, and I'm like, I have to find out what they were thinking. And then they'll start telling me what they're thinking, and I'm like, and then I'll explain how I misinterpreted that completely, and nicely tell them how it's stupid, and just to put that bug in their head. And then I say, this is kind of what I was thinking with that character, how that could go, and it could, help out with the rest of the story, and it actually would complement this scene. And they'll be like, that's interesting. Maybe we should try. I'd actually be interested in trying it like that. And then you end it with oh man, but the rest is perfect. Like I wouldn't change a word. Like the font, the spacing, everything.
So anybody that works with Dave keep that in mind that you may be subject to a compliment sandwich.
Well, you start them off feeling good, you get your point across, and then leave them feeling good, and they don't feel like you came in and tried to, tear up their work.
Now I have to think back on all the things you said to me. I don't know. I'm feeling bad about myself now. I don't know. No, the when you're writing, when you're writing something, do you have a voice in mind as well as a look, or is it just a look and the voice comes with that?
For me, it usually starts with a tone and a feeling. I started off with an emotion, so most of my stuff, if I'm writing stuff, I'm actually just recently moved in the world of comedy, but most of my stuff before has been more dark drama to horror, and so it usually sets a tone with a dark tone, and that's based on how I will write characters and how I'm going to write things. I get a lot of just it's funny. It'll be visual things. We get a lot of fog out here. I live in San Francisco, and we get a lot of fog here in the wintertime. And I'll be driving, and it's just the way the roads will look, or the way the mountains will look in the background of the fog, and it's just like that's an idea, and you just jot it down, and then before you know it, you're 10 pages in, just based on a cool visual look of fog.
Is your
And
phone
so,
just filled with little ideas like mine
oh,
is, where it's I got nothing else I can get there?
that's actually when I was having a problem out here once I moved out to California, because I do video work, but I do mostly marketing type things, and I don't get to work on his film as much as I want to. And one of the problems I had was like, I'm going to write something, and I'd start writing it, and I'd love it, and then I get busy, and then I just never go back to it. So I probably have like 40 unfinished, like 10 pages of different stories that I never could finish. And then finally, when COVID was here and I was kind of like, everyone was kind of stuck inside, I'm like, well, let's try something else. And then that's when I started dabbling into animation and writing for comedy. And that's kind of what I'm starting to do now.
And your animation looks fantastic. I've seen some of it, and I can't wait to see the finished product on that, because I've read it and I've seen what you've done so far, and it's just great. How has it been writing to animation versus writing to a film project?
Well, the funny thing is, like, it's actually a lot easier, I think, because I don't have to think about budget as much. like if I want to have a car chase, I can do a car chase. I don't have to worry about like, well, we can't afford this. How am I going to shoot this? It's going to be low angle, like, in a parking lot going 10 miles an hour, trying to make it look like they're going fast. So for that, it kind of like, it takes the handcuffs off, because sometimes when you're in that no budget world, there's too many stories that are like, they went camping and they all died. Because they're like, well, what do we got? He goes, well, we have woods back here that my uncle owns, and we can go shoot back there. And yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna remake Friday the 13th again. And so like you do that because you use what you have. And I found with animation, when you're learning more and just different programs, and once you get better and better at it, then those handcuffs kind of come off, and it's like, it's really anything you want. Like you have a blank canvas, and your writing can be whatever you want it to be, and you don't have to worry about how am I going to do that.
Dude, I've got a GoPro and you've got a GoPro. That's a driving shot right there.
Right there.
We're ready for it. When we start talking about directors who direct their own stuff, or directors who act in their own stuff, I mean, there are a lot of great examples of people who've been able to do it. We've got the Quentin Tarantinos, for people who like Quentin Tarantino. Of course, I'm old, so my favorite was still Mel Brooks, who directed his own stuff and acted in it.
I'm reading his book right now.
Oh, it's an amazing book.
It's fantastic. His opening story, just to go a little off topic here, his opening monologue talking about how his mother convinced him to open the window because he was scared that Frankenstein was going to come eat him.
Sure,
is hilarious. Like her rationale behind it and the way he explains it. I'm loving it. I'm loving that book.
It's for anybody who is younger, which is most people younger than me. If you haven't watched a Mel Brooks, by God, go get a Mel Brooks, whether it be Young Frankenstein, whether it be Blazing Saddles, The Producers, or Like Dave wants to make a silent movie, The Silent Movie, which is just a masterclass in filmmaking.
Well, and I believe they wrapped recently on Spaceballs too.
Yes, yes, they
So
did.
the new generation is going to actually be able to see his final film, which I'm not. He's got to be close to 100 years old.
He's 95 or 96 now. I can't remember.
Yeah, I was going to say. So he's got to be
Yeah.
he's supposed to be in it. So he's probably one of the oldest working actors
Yeah.
today.
Dick Van Dyke. Well, Dick Van Dyke just turned 100 the other day.
I saw
So-
that. I saw him.
But yeah, Mel is very up there and still, still directing, still doing everything. And luckily, the younger people found him and they decided to keep going. Of course, Christopher Nolan directs some of his own writing.
He does.
Woody
Yeah, he
Allen
writes a
from
lot
back
of
in
his.
the day.
Yeah.
The beginning of it, Orson Welles and Charlie Chaplin both directed their own writing. Now, those are the people that did very well at what they did because, like you, they had their own vision when they wrote it. But then you have people like, let's say, Stephen King on Maximum Overdrive. The man who proved even he could ruin a Stephen King book, doing Maximum Overdrive during his big cocaine days. M. Night Shyamalan, who, everybody loved his first film, and then every film after that kind of looked exactly like his first film.
That's tough. I mean, you hit a home run your first at bat,
Yeah.
and you're chasing that the rest of your career, and it kind of puts you in this pigeonhole where people are like, "Yeah, I'm not surprised anymore. I'm not." You kind of, or it's like you've tried too much here.
Right.
You've tried to be clever instead of like letting the story take you to a clever place. Like I always think if you go out there and you're like, I'm going to write an extremely clever story that's going to make people go, then I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. I feel like you write the story, you get your bare bones in there, and then you start tweaking and finding out new ways you can take it. But I just think it's kind of like I see writing a story and writing it's kind of like starting in a maze that you don't know where it's going to end.
Nice. Very, especially with Blank Page. Yeah.
And I've always, I don't know, I think my biggest problem is the ending. And then I think some people come up with the idea of start with the ending and work your way back. And when I've done that, I've had success. But I've had many a times where I've gotten into that maze and hitting walls, and I'm like, what have I done? Like, what have I? This was going so well.
Do you outline or do you just go in linear fashion when you're writing?
Outline, but then, but I also I'll get fixated on scenes.
Oh, yeah.
So there'll be a certain thing, like I'll be doing an outline, and there'll be a certain scene that I'm really interested in, and I'll spend a lot of time there and with all these different ideas. But sometimes I'll overwrite it to the point where it's like, yeah, this is all cool, and that's where I think you need that second pair of eyes to come in and take a look at it, because you'll be, oh, this is great, and you understand it. Like, you're the writer, you're the creator, you've built this world, you know where everything is placed, but you have to realize that this medium is not for you; it is for the audience. Now, will the audience be able to see what you have created, or is it only for your eyes? And I think that's where sometimes you got to bring in somebody else to be like, I understand what you're saying, and I get it, but we can say it in a different way, because sometimes because you understand it so well, you're not going to explain it to the audience, and they're going to get lost. And that's why sometimes you have to spoon feed your information. Not because the audience isn't smart, but they're walking into this world completely blank. They don't know what they're going in for.
At what point do you, as a writer-director, feel that you have to have somebody look? Do you feel in every project that somebody has to look at it, or is this just a case-by-case basis in case you get stuck?
I like to, once I'm finished with something, I like to send it along to get like, hey, what do you think about it? And I have one or two people that kind of get my style and will give me tips on that and tell me what they think about it. And it's funny, sometimes I will get completely opposite reactions. I had one, the first episode that I wrote for the animated show that I'm working on in Catfish, Indiana, is I sent it to two different people, and one of them read it and came back and told me how much he loved the pacing and how fast it was, and I thought it was great. And another one read it and said, I just feel like it could be faster. It just felt slow. And I'm like, That's interesting. Those are completely opposite notes there. So, huh.
I can say that when reading a script, because I personally loved it. I thought your pacing was great, but then it also depends when your reader, if your reader watches a lot of the same genre as they're reading.
That is true.
Because people who watch a lot of the same genre can read something, I believe, and put themselves visually into that story and say, okay, I understand how this is going to go. I understand how this is going to go. But if you don't, and that is one of the problems I read about Tarantino. I read a book about him, and that was one of the problems he had on his first film. It was people were reading it who didn't know the genre he was going for and didn't know the look he was going for. So they said, this doesn't make sense, or I don't understand how you're going back and forth like this. I think there's a limit to other people's imagination for what you are trying to put forward, depending on who's reading it.
That's the truth. You like sometimes like it's your vision, and only you can let that vision be seen by everyone else. So I get that because can you imagine if he handed off the script to Reservoir Dogs for someone else to direct? Like that's a completely different movie, and probably nobody ever sees it. Like it's probably like a one and done. Okay, I saw that one time on video, but that was it.
Right, and very famously, I mean, Stallone actually sold Rocky, and Henry Winkler was involved in that, and he got to the point where he didn't want anybody else to direct it, and he bought it back. And it's all about, does somebody else get your vision of what you're writing? If you absolutely want it to be what you wrote.
Yeah, what an interesting timeline it would be if he just sells that and then someone else goes on and plays Rocky. Like,
and that is fascinating to me because when he sold it, I think it was to, what was Happy Days on? Was that CBS or NBC? Whichever network Happy Days was on, they were thinking about making it a TV movie of the week.
Yeah, and that would have been terrible.
Yeah, and especially in '77.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I just couldn't imagine that.
The fact that he kept it and they had to do it on such a shoestring budget,
right?
Is actually I just saw a part that I thought was funny from that movie that I never realized. They screwed up the poster in when he's in the ring the night before the fight. And he's looking up, and the poster of him has the wrong colored shorts on. That was actually a production error, and he just made up a scene just to go along with it because they didn't have time to get it fixed. So he's just like, "Hey, you got the wrong shorts on there," and then they kind of made it. Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? And it actually works really well with the story and the character. But yeah, that was totally on accident.
I think you're also when you write the stuff that you're directing, I think you're also more apt to go along with, oh, this is a mistake, but we're going to go along with it, or we don't have the permits or we don't have the money to do this. Okay, it's time to go guerrilla. Such as Terminator going, the most of the scenes in Terminator where they were just grabbing a camera and going out on the street and shooting this stuff. Rocky, the entire running scene was no permits, just grab a camera and go. But when you write the stuff, I think you're more apt to go, okay, I know what this will look like in the end, so let's just do this. I know we've done stuff together that, I remember one scene where we were like, oh, it's raining. This will look great. Let's just go get this.
Yeah.
Because hell, the rain's there.
Yeah, that'll do it. But yeah, it's very interesting that when it's your baby, I think you should have Final Cut on it. Mm-hmm. But I guess it just comes down to, do you have a story or do you have an entire vision? Because I've also met writers who I do not want to direct their stuff. They're like, no, I wrote it. I'm like, just do whatever you want with it. Right. It's like they'll even leave, they'll know who's directing it, and they'll just leave little scenes like, it's very vague there because I figured you'd do something cool with it.
I wouldn't mind somebody else directing my stuff because I'm not a director.
I honestly don't like. I direct because I have to.
Yeah.
If you're like, hey, where do you want to be? I'm like, I kind of want to be in the camera department and stay over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, but I do like writing. I kind of like directing. I'm getting more excited about it now.
Yeah.
But I always think that I get more nervous when I'm trying to direct, to where if I'm working with another director, I shine so much better as the second person on set rather than the first person on set. I think it's because it might be a pressure thing.
Right. I understand that also because after being on a couple of larger films, watching the camera crew work like a ballet, directing that camera crew and the lighting crew and the gophers and everybody to do this ballet between themselves of what has to be done, especially when a shot has to be set up and are you worried about the shot or are you worried about the actors getting the lines right? How do you split yourself at that point? Or, God help you, if you're in it, getting your own lines right, getting the shot set up, how do you divide your brain that way? I just can't imagine. And we've got, I'm going to get castigated for this, but I'm still a Kevin Smith fan. I know he's Kevin Smith. You know what to expect from Kev. But that's the thing, is you know what to expect from him. And seeing where he came from is, it's a good story for everybody who wants to start out doing low budget stuff.
He was, between him and Sam Raimi, they were kind of like
Yeah.
the people like that really made you think, wow, we can do this. Like I can do this.
Right.
I don't need to have an in Hollywood. It's like I can when that's another I just finished earlier this year. I've been on a big autobiography kick this year, and I read a couple of Bruce Campbell books, and they talked about when they did The Evil Dead, like one of the things that people like seasoned cinematographers were coming up to them and being like, how did you do that shot in the woods? Like, because did you have a glide cam? Like, how did you do it? And they're like, we taped it to a board and had two people run. And they're like, oh.
And those seasoned guys are also the guys that if you ask them to do that, would just refuse because that would be too low budget or too.
That's not gonna work. It's like, might.
That we could go rent this specialty piece of equipment that could do it for you. Only $10,000.
I remember when DSLRs first started to do video, and I was excited about it. I remember you were like, no. It's like I want a camera with weight. And when we were shooting X Kid, I'll never forget this because it was we had one shot where you wanted the camera inside, and you grabbed a glass, and you wanted the camera inside, and it was the only one we could not use
in the cupboard.
Yeah, we couldn't use the Panasonic HVX 200 because it was too big. So I got my T2i out, like the little Canon T2i, and then put a 50 mil on there, and we did it. And when I cut it together, you're like, we got to lose that shot. Why? It looks way too good. It looks way better than the other camera. And that was, I think, the day that you were like, yeah, I guess you probably could shoot things on DSLRs.
The only reason I still have a problem with the SLRs is because the focus point is in a different position than it needs to be. You have to know exactly where that focus point is in the camera to do a parallax shot, to do a revolving shot.
Yeah,
As opposed to the cameras I'm used to. A red has a very specific focus point that is right over the pivot point. So it's just a different, and the quality can be different if you have a good enough camera. That HVX 200, different camera. That was the beginning of our HD fun.
Yeah, we got the P2 cards. It's like, hey, we can. Yeah. We have 4 gigs of record time. It's going to be great.
Look at all of this we can do. Look at it. Oh my gosh. But yeah, that shoot was incredibly different because we had a first-time director. You saved the shoot. You and Chuck Budrow with sound saved the shoot with what you did. Nothing against Scott as the director. He was a nice enough guy. I should not have been in it because my head was going 3 different directions trying to figure out things between setting, writing, and acting.
Yeah. Well, on top of that, you were starring in it. You were the writer, but you're also the producer.
Yeah.
Which is is one of those roles that, like, if you're a good producer, you're very busy. Like I've met people that are like, "Oh, I'm the producer," and I'm like, I've had people that I've shot movies and I made them like, "Yeah, I was a producer on it." I'm like, "I've never met you." Like, what do you mean you were the producer on this? I didn't see you anywhere. Where were you? It was like, oh, you emailed some websites so they would talk about us. That's okay.
So you're the marketing producer. Hey,
that's
thanks.
more of a PR thing, but hey, appreciate whatever you want to be.
I discovered the movie. I'm the one. Yeah, okay, whatever, they're honcho. But that's the problem, though, I think, is especially in the beginning. You know, we, especially in Indiana, we have Indiana Filmmakers Network. We have a lot of writers who direct their own stuff or are in their own stuff, whatever they want to do. And I think when you're first beginning anymore, and has been for a long time in low to no budget cinema, it's kind of mandatory to either direct it or be in it yourself or both or whatever the case may be. I think at that point, if you're going to, as a writer, direct something yourself or be in it, it's essential that you have to surround yourself with quality people who know what they're doing and know what your vision is. Because I know, like, for instance, on X-Kid, we had a part that was completely done in an office building in a cube city. And that was already a nightmare to begin with because of how vast it was. But I had a vision of the lead character popping up in cubes and looking for people and all this. And if I hadn't had you and some other people to enact that vision, that wouldn't have happened. I think it's the same way. You have to surround yourself with people.
I also think about that scene, like, if we would have shot it like 2 years later, the amount of technology that would have made that scene so much easier.
Yeah. Oh my God. Now, for everybody listening who hasn't seen it, and which is most likely everybody, this was shot in 2012, 13, something like that.
No, I thought it was earlier than that. It was felt like it was 10, 11.
10, 11, somewhere around there. We had literally just gotten the HD camera, and that's what made us excited. The technology we have now wasn't even there then, because when we talk about DSLR, you have to admit, even the DSLR wasn't where it is now.
No, it was
right.
It was like, well, lock it down. Don't try to handheld that thing. We can't do that.
Right. We didn't have handheld Steadicams. Your Steadicam was you on a dolly, on a cart being pulled by somebody.
I was standing on a cart, and I had the camera on a monopod.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It would definitely, if it was posted today, it would definitely turn some heads. They're like, what third world country?
Yeah.
Shooting this movie.
I will say, though, it worked for the short run we had.
Yeah.
It wasn't up and down stairs and all this other fancy stuff. It was great for the short run we had. And for one shot, we actually had a small crane.
Yeah, that's true.
For an opening shot.
I remember that,
But going back to as a writer, that became a worry for me because we had a crane that neither you or I or Scott had ever used. We had a really great professional gaffer who donated the use of his stuff to us. Thank goodness. I mean, his lights saved a lot of things. But as a writer, it was hard to separate the writer brain from, will the lighting work? Will this look good? Are we wasting time? I think that was my biggest worry is everybody bored and are we wasting too much time? You know, especially when we got a few people who'd done bigger stuff before on the set. It was like, I don't want them to walk away going, boy, this really sucked.
Yeah, and I've come to realize that, like, filmmaking is kind of filmmaking. Like, if you have your stuff together, you're gonna everything runs into its problems, and there's always going to be that hurry up and wait sort of situation. But it's the people that, like, you can tell, like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I've shot films for people before where I've showed up. I'm like, what can I see your, like, I came in on one where I came in very late. So someone had dropped out, and I got a phone call. It's like, hey, this weekend they're shooting a short film. Can you come in and help this guy? Yeah. I'll come in there. I come in there and start talking to him. Like, so do you have a shot list? Like, what's your plan? And he's like, yeah. And he just hands me what was basically a list of things he wanted to do. And one of the lists was lunch. So it wasn't just the shot list. There was So he didn't have like I kind of just ran with it on there, and I'm like, because I don't want to work on something. It's funny because I sometimes I like to be collaborative, but if I don't like what they're doing, I want to give them options. But some people are like, no, this is how we're doing it, and then I'm like, oh, this isn't fun. So I kind of sometimes I need to learn to step back and be like, this isn't your project. Step
Now,
back. This is what let them do what they want to do.
I will say for any writer who starts producing their own stuff, you want other people to come back and work with you. The most important thing is food on set. Do not bring in a box of donuts and a carton of cheap Diet K cola or something and think that's going to satisfy people. Have options. If you have some food on set, people will be happy.
Yeah, even if it's a no budget, if you're going to have any type of money put into this thing, put it into the food.
Right.
Because at least then people can be like enjoy some time and actually eat, and instead of just like, all right, what do you got? Well, we said something to Little Caesars, and we got like 20, $5 pizzas coming that have been sitting under a heat lamp for like an hour and a half.
Here's a pixie stick. Enjoy.
Yeah, like the one person's like, but I'm vegan, and they're like, oh, well, I mean, we could take the cheese. We'll take the cheese and the meat off, I guess. Yeah, it's too many hats. You got too many hats.
It is.
Here's one.
Especially in beginning projects.
Here's one. As a writer, you're writing dialogue and you're writing these characters, but then when you cast someone, now the character kind of takes on a whole new life. It takes on their persona. How do you feel when an actor wants to change your dialogue?
As a writer, here's what I think. Because I've been in that situation on the other side so many times, my feeling is run it by me, and if I like it better, go for it. I hate to keep bringing up X-Kid, but we had to change the gender of a character because the lead Kitsy, the lead female.
Yeah.
She was originally a male in the original script, but when she came in and auditioned, the take that she had on it just made it over the top and out of this world, and therefore things had to change. The meaning of the way that some things were done, the meaning of some things. As a writer, especially on film, let me say, this is where I'll get into this argument. On film, you have to be flexible because you're going to have people who are much smarter than you, much more talented, come in and go, what if I do it this way? What if I tweak it a little bit this way? And you have to be flexible enough to go, I like that. It's just like I think you're discovering with the animation, you've got you're using human voice actors, not AI. And those human voice actors are going to bring a different inflection than what you may have had in your head to some things. And you may go, no, go ahead and go back to this. But if it's funnier, if it gives a better take on it, you're going to use it, aren't you?
Yeah, and I'm pretty interested in that sort of thing because I know the thing is, not only are these all characters I created, they're all based on people I actually know. And
Right.
a lot of this is based on life in my hometown, exaggerated, to turned up to 11, as they say. But so I not only did I write the character, I know who the character is or who the
Right.
character is based on. So I will try my best to direct it, but I also have to be open-minded to being like, well, let's see what you give me. But at the same time, like if I have a vision for that character and a vision for the story, I might be like stand my ground a little more about
Right.
no, that character would not do that.
And that's the mark of a good actor, because I've had several times when it's been, okay, give it to me your way, and then give it to me my way, and let's see which one makes more sense. Especially I think when you get to the final edit is where you really can tell what's that difference. How's that go? How is that little when I worked for you on not Murder Radio, what am I trying to say?
Revenge Radio.
Revenge Radio. I don't know why I keep thinking murder.
My first narrative.
Yeah, but when I worked for you on Revenge Radio, you had me playing a DJ who was ready to kill everybody, and it had to be very low. It had to be very, very breathy. But it was, can you do it this way? Yes, I can. What if I put a little bit more of this in here? And you as the director and the writer was able to go, okay, that sounds good. Let's do that. You have to be flexible, especially in film, because film is, in the end, an editor's medium. Actors don't like to hear that. Directors don't like to hear that.
That's
but
true.
the editor will decide whether you look good, sound good, whether the film is good, or the video. I'm old, so it's still film. I don't care. The writer in big film, one of the big secrets, if kids, if you don't know this, a writer is a writer for hire in film. When you write a film, if it gets made by a big studio, they're buying that script. If you're a big enough name, you can put into that contract, I have all the rewrites, I have the right to direct, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
If it's your first film to a studio, you don't own crap. After you sign your life away and sell that script, you don't own anything. They're going to change it. The actors on set are going to change it. You have no say in it as a first-time writer. You just made money and have a good day.
Yeah, that's true.
In theater, you are a writer for yourself. You own the product even after it gets produced. It's still yours. You make the money off of that. They cannot change a single word without your permission. Not saying it doesn't happen, because actors will forget their lines. I'm sure some do. I can't remember who here would forget their lines, but it will happen. But technically, they cannot change a word. You still own it. So if you want to keep owning what you write for theater and make very little money. If you want to make money, eventually, write for film and take that big paycheck. But don't expect that studio to call you and say, can we change a line? Because they won't.
Yeah. And maybe don't go watch it.
No, ever.
Maybe don't. What was it? I was recently, the writer, I can't think of his name. I can see it, Block or something like that. The guy who wrote the book Psycho.
Oh, yeah.
So I think Robert Blake.
That
Block?
sounds right.
Sounds
Somebody's
familiar?
gonna be in the comments going, "You
Oh,
idiots! It's this."
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, if we weren't recording, I'd know it. But he actually wrote, because that's another one. It's on my list of things to read. Is he wrote the book Psycho 2, which apparently is not even close to the actual movie Psycho 2. Like, it's
Right.
completely different, and people were saying they didn't like his script at all as far as trying to put that out. So it's a completely different, not just like some changes, it's a completely different story.
Well, sure.
So I'm actually interested to sit down and actually read that and kind of see what his vision was, because I know Anthony Perkins is a much better looking person than what is described in the novel.
And completely without looking it up on Google, I don't care what you say. His name's Robert Block.
There you go,
No,
Robert Block.
no internet search involved in that whatsoever.
Absolutely.
Well, that's happened recently, because there's a TV series now on Netflix which I really enjoy, that was first done with Tom Cruise. Alan Richardson is the actor in the new one. I'm not going to name the series because I'd rather not get sued. But the writer of the book did not like the Tom Cruise because the character in the book is 6'7" and huge. Somehow Tom Cruise didn't quite fit that mold, I'm just going to say. And so now it's a Netflix series that's done very, very well. But that's also a case of the writer having rights and saying, okay, I still own my books, so I'm gonna allow Netflix to make a series out of this. And it happens in TV all the time. I was just watching the other day. Seth MacFarlane made The Orville, which I think is a fun little sci-fi series that makes fun of a lot of things. But he directs and writes that series. I mean, he couldn't have done it, of course, without the Family Guy and without his previous success. So it can still happen even on TV. Bill Hader from Saturday Night Live did Barry. Mm-hmm. I like the series because I'm a Henry Winkler fan, and it's fun to watch him in that series. But especially at the beginning, when you're first starting out, unless you're going to put up the money and direct it yourself, if you're writing something, you just have to get into your mind that once you sell it or give it to somebody, it's theirs at that point, because you have no name. So if you're going to direct it yourself, fantastic. If you're going to be in it, I highly, highly, highly suggest that you don't direct it at the same time, and that you have somebody on set that you trust to tell you, no, that sucked. That
Give
really
them the
needs
old
to.
compliment sandwich.
Oh yeah, I'd rather have somebody who tells me flat out, no, that sucked, than a compliment sandwich, because I start going, really? How am I going to believe that first part now?
Well, I think it all depends on the personality. Some people take their art or their craft extremely personal, and
Yes.
and if you don't like it, that's somehow a reflection on them, and it's like, no, that's not the case. I'm just asking.
And I understand that it's art. I'm more than on the side of it's art. It can be personal, but once you're making it and you have other people working on it, if you just go out with an iPhone and make your own thing, hey, great, make your art, put it out to the world. But if you have other people involved, other people are putting their name and their reputation on the line, which is what they are doing, it then becomes a commercial project, because other people are going to use that on their reels. Other people are going to use that as something to get another project. It becomes, whether it makes money or not, it becomes a commercial property of the world.
Right. And I think another thing that kind of hinders the thought process on how you feel about your work getting changed at all is, are you making a movie or are you making a film? Because, and I'm not talking about like the actual media you're shooting on. I feel there is an absolute difference between, are you making a movie or are you making a film? A film is a little more, I don't know, like uptown, a little more artsy, a little more personal, I think. Not to say that a movie isn't, but I think a movie is a little more for everybody.
Yeah.
And so when you're making something that you want the widest audience possible, then you kind of want to take from everyone, because like, I don't know about you, but if I'm writing for a kid, I can't write for a child now. Like I need someone to give me some feedback on like, how do kids talk today? What's going on with that? It's the same way that there are certain female characters that I would probably ask for, like, hey, how does she sound? Is this kind of along the lines of what you're thinking? Like, because I don't want to write someone and be like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But if you're doing something,
yeah.
Say if you're doing something like along the lines of something like something that you'd see in a David Lynch film that is extremely tight and everything is meticulous and made to be there for a reason, then I think that's where you can really just like, no, this is how it's written, this is how we're doing it.
I think this also goes back to your former question of, do you mind when people change your words? If you know you're not great at writing for women, if you know you're not great at writing for children, if you know you're not great at writing for a certain minority or a majority, when you get an actor on stage or actor on set who can give you those, this is actually the way it would be said, why not take advantage of that? It only helps you. It only helps the project. It makes it much more realistic that way. One of my favorite examples of that is in the movie Airplane, of all things, which I love the movie Airplane. I can't remember the actress's name, but she played June Cleaver on Leave It to Beaver. They had her in the movie as the woman who could speak jive. She had no idea how to do that, and she and the two gentlemen who were playing the people who spoke jive went off set for 2 hours, taught her some things to say, and she came back and did it. But that was only because the director said, yeah, go teach her what to say and come back and do it. You have to be flexible enough to know that other people are experts in their field, and you may not be, no matter what you're trying to put in there. So I think and I just want to close by, I also write a lot for theater. Theater is a completely different animal for everybody. I've been in both things that have been produced that I've written. out of necessity because I was told I had to be by the production team. And on the last one, I also directed it. It was the most terrifying thing I've ever done. I would not recommend it myself. I will not be directing and being in something and writing it again. There are people who know how to direct. They're much better at it than I am. And I get too caught up in, hey, let's have fun to be a director. So I think the splitting of the mind just probably isn't my thing.
Makes sense.
But I think it's been a fantastic conversation. And just don't forget, Dave's going to be around for a long time. So if you don't like him, I don't care because he's my friend and we're going to have fun.
All right. I look forward to it.
Producer Dave and I have had that discussion before, and everybody, I mean, that we talk to has their own opinion of what works and what doesn't. And that's fine. That's the beautiful thing about making your own art. It's yours. And you have the right to like whatever you like. Don't let anybody tell you any different. I hope you enjoyed the discussion and it got you thinking about your own writing and where it's going. Drop us a line at workingwriterpodcast@gmail.com to let us know your thoughts and how far off you think we were, or if you agree with us. Hopefully, you'll agree with us a lot. We want to hear from you. As always, like, subscribe, post a review. You know how all this works by now. So until next time, make the most of your time and keep writing. Remember, writing isn't just a job, it's a passion. Pay your bills, but always follow that passion. Now, get to writing.